No, Tower Bridge can be raised. It opens like a double-sided drawbridge in less than 90 seconds to let any taller masted ships into this part of the River Thames. On average, the bridge will open 5, maybe 6 times a week. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to see Tower Bridge open? Yeah. YouTube. There are thousands of videos on YouTube. No, you can find out. The bridge will be opening this evening at 8 o'clock. So if any of you are in the area and you want to see the bridge open, 8 o'clock tonight, Tower Bridge will be opening. So come down and get some nice photos of the bridge. And it can in fact open 364 days a year. There's one day of the year when this bridge cannot open. Does anyone know which day that might be? That's correct. No one ever gets that. You've been here before. You have. I've seen you. You don't get anything. Just called out a little bit. That's it. The lady was correct. The only day of the year that bridge will not open is the day of the London Marathon. And that's because 40,000 people have to run, because it's not hard enough, is it? Give them an obstacle to climb along the way. And you may have been to the Tower of London today, and it's been many things in its time, the Tower. A royal mint, where they made money, an observatory, a prison, a palace, and even a zoo. Most famously, it's known as a place of execution and torture. And if you look on the river wall to the left-hand side, you can see that blocked up archway and the words "Entry to the Traitor's Gate." And if you were found guilty of treason years ago, if you were a traitor to the crown, like Harry, then you would have been rowed down to here from Westminster, taken through that archway and taken to the Bloody Tower. And it was in the Bloody Tower where they would have chopped off your head years ago with a large blunt axe. And if you were famous, it didn't end there. They would have then dipped your head into a barrel of tar and they would have stuck it on a spike on London Bridge to warn off any traitors to the crown. Is everybody still happy? We don't do that in London today. We've changed our ways. What we do to criminals today, a little thing called rehabilitation. We rehabilitate the criminals today, and it works a treat. A lot of people ask me about the round building on the left-hand side, and that was once upon a time the Mayor of London's office, and today that building is derelict, not used at all. Look at it. Ken Livingstone built it when he was in charge, and they paid a private company £4 million to name that building. Honestly, do you know what they called it? City Hall for £4 million. Unbelievable, eh? And the warship on the left is HMS Belfast. She was built in the same shipyard as the Titanic, the ill-fated ship. And she last saw action throughout the Korean campaign. That's where she last fired her guns in anger. 6 guns at the front and 6 at the back. And each gun fires a 100-weight shell, 14 miles. A very powerful ship. And permanently moored in London today as an extension to the Imperial War Museum. The flag flying on the front of that ship is the Union Jack, and it is in fact the only Union Jack you will see in London today. Which does sound a little bit funny. You see the same flag flying on various buildings. But a little fact for you, you can only call that flag a Union Jack when it's flown from a wooden jackstaff, the flagpole, of a Royal Navy ship. Any other time you see it, it's called a Union flag. So that is the only Union Jack in London today. And up to the left-hand side, the tallest building in our country is the Shard of Glass, and it stands at over 1,000 feet high. It was designed by an Italian architect, and it was designed to look like a broken piece of glass. So the young lady at the front, she just asked me, what's happened to the top? It's supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look like a broken shard of glass. And the first bridge is London Bridge, the 5th London bridge to stand here in 2,000 years. The first one was wooden, built by the Romans, and it burnt down. And as I'm sure you all know from that nursery rhyme, the song, most of the others fell down. All but one, number 4. We took it down in the 1970s and we sold London Bridge to an American businessman, Robert McCulloch. He then shipped it back to America where they rebuilt it. There's a London Bridge in America today, and it's at Lake Havasu City in Arizona. And I meet lots of people from Arizona, and they do tell me that it hasn't fallen down yet, so they're doing all right. And as we pass under the next bridge, look into the glass box on the river wall to the right. For the adults, if you're lucky, sometimes you do see some semi-naked people roaming around. Inside that glass box is a health and relaxation spa. They thought they were clever by putting it under a bridge so nobody could see them. And they forgot about us. I point it out every day. And some days are better than others, let me assure you. Some days you wish you never looked. On the left, there's a lovely pub with the red windows. The Anchor, it's called. And there's been a pub there since 1615. A famous pub that starred in a few movies, like James Bond, Mission Impossible, and Get Him to the Greek. So of course, many famous people have been inside that pub, and me and my friend in there, we visit that pub most evenings after work to research this commentary. It takes us hours and hours, and we don't enjoy it, but we do it for you. I mean, some evenings we research so much, we actually forget the next day what we've learned. Crazy, isn't it? And on the left, there's a round white building with the thatched roof, a replica of William Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. The only building in London to be allowed a thatched roof since the Great Fire of London. You can go inside and you can watch a show being acted out in the traditional manner. No stage lighting or sound effects like microphones. It's all done as it would have been done during Shakespeare's day. And it isn't very expensive. The cheapest tickets they sell, they are only £10. And £10 for live entertainment in London is great value for money. Ladies and gentlemen, is everyone enjoying the live commentary so far? Good. What about at the back? Can you all hear me okay at the back? Good stuff. My favourite building in London, up to the right-hand side. Look at the dome and the Golden Cross. St Paul's Cathedral, the masterpiece of Sir Christopher Wren. And it took them 35 years to construct it. It stands 365 feet high, a foot for every day of the year. And a tip for you, another tip, there is a way to visit St Paul's for free. And the way to do that, go on Sunday. It's a church. Sunday, you can go there free of charge and you can watch a service at St Paul's. And what a great experience that is, to see a service in a building like that. And I say it's free, it is a church, and they will get you at the end, so I'm sure you know. A man walks around the building with a silver champagne bucket, and if you've enjoyed the service, you put some money into the bucket. And as I'm sure you can all imagine, it's very quiet in there. And they do encourage the silent donation. A note, 5, 10, 20, or a £50 note. Now on the right, the white building with the green roof, that's the old City of London School, where most of our past Prime Ministers and Members of Parliament gained their early education, before going on to Oxford or Cambridge universities. And that building today is owned by a bank. JP Morgan own it today, the very wealthy American bank. And the landmark, the Oxo Tower, up to the left, the red brick building, we call it Stamford Wharf, a refrigeration warehouse for many years, taken over by Oxo. And on the top of that building today, where you see the glass canopy, that's a restaurant. One of the top 5 restaurants in London. And it's owned by Harvey Nichols. Quite expensive, as I'm sure you can imagine, but it is very nice. And you get great views over London from the top. Now on the right hand side, there's a large white ship with the yellow funnel. The Wellington is called. And this ship used to be in the New Zealand Navy. And it's moored in London permanently today as a floating livery hall, a drinking club for retired sea captains. To become a member of that club, you must have been the captain of a ship at sea for 25 years. It's an exclusive club. And the president of that club is Prince William today. He's the president of that drinking club on the right hand side. And we often see Will and Kate, they're usually stumbling around on the front deck, reenacting Titanic after a few too many. And I'm sure you can all see that now, eh? And speaking of the royal family, on the right hand side, you can see that black and white boat. The St. Catherine is called. And years ago in London, this was the royal barge, which means any time a member of the royal family came onto the river, which they do quite often, that's the boat they used years ago. They don't use that one today. They've built a new boat, a gold hand-painted boat called the Gloriana. Beautiful boat it is. So if the King or William come onto the river today, they go on the Gloriana, and when Harry comes to London, they put him on there, because that's the spare boat. Is that too much? Oh, leave off. Well, he's lucky we let him back in. And the bridge, Waterloo Bridge, it has a nickname in London. We call it the Ladies' Bridge. Constructed by ladies. The men were away fighting a war. So the ladies, they built the bridge and they did a fantastic job. They even faced it in a self-cleansing stone. So every time it rains, the bridge gets a thorough clean. Look beneath the bridge and you can see it's very dirty where the rain doesn't penetrate. And on the outside, still as good as new. Ladies, you'll be pleased to know that this is the only bridge in London finished on time and under budget. So well done to the girls. They did a fantastic job. In true fashion, eh? Now on the right, for the students on board, you may want to take a photo. London's oldest monument is on the right hand side. The stone column on the river wall, Cleopatra's Needle, 3,500 years old it is, and it was given to us from a thankful Egyptian government for the victory over Napoleon and the French at the Battle of the River Nile. There is a twin to that needle in America, in Central Park, New York. But as I say, that's the oldest thing you'll see today. And on the left-hand side, the Royal Festival Hall is the last remaining building from the Festival of Great Britain, 1951. And many famous people have played inside. Liza Minnelli, Michael Jackson, Elton John, Frank Sinatra, Whitney Houston. to name a few. And the bridge, Charing Cross Bridge, a tradition in London, wave to the people on the bridge, and they say if anyone waves back, it'll bring you 5 years of luck. We pay that man to stand up there doing that. He does a great job, stands there all day. And there's another one the other side. Keep waving. Do you want to know the real reason we wave at them? It keeps their hands busy. Stops them throwing things at you, which they sometimes like to do. Now up to the left-hand side, a perfect day for it today. If anyone's going on the London Eye, it stands, are you going on there today? Oh, you picked a lovely day for it. You couldn't have it any better than this. And it stands 450 feet tall with 32 glass capsules. And there's a reason why there are 32. And that's because there are 32 areas in London. So each capsule on the wheel represents a part of London. Each capsule can carry 25 people, and on a very clear day like today, you'll see 30 miles across London. If you look to the west that way, you'll see Windsor Castle, and if you look to the east that way, you will see Dartford Bridge on a day like today, and that's down in Kent, so that's about 30 miles away. You can even hire out a glass capsule on the wheel for £1,000. And ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, you can now get married on the London Eye. And I don't recommend it. Marriage, that is. The London Eye is a great attraction. Marriage, not so much. Now ahead of us on the right hand side is the last building I'd like to mention for you today. And that is the Palace of Westminster. And it is a palace, it's owned by the Crown. The King lets the government reside inside. That famous clock tower on the right hand side, you all know the name of it. It's called the Queen Elizabeth Clock Tower. Although its original name was the Great Clock of Westminster. It's never been called Big Ben. Big Ben is only a nickname for the bell that lives inside the tower. So none of you can see Big Ben, you only hear it. It's just the bell inside. And the bell, it was named after a man called Benjamin Hall. And he was the man in charge of the construction of that building. And he did such a great job, they wanted to name something after him. The reason why they named the bell after him is because he was a very short man. He was about 5 foot tall, but 5 foot round as well. Very loud and much resembled a bell. So they named it after him. Big Ben is what they used to call him. Good job his name weren't Richard, eh? Now over on the left is our destination, Westminster Pier. And ladies and gentlemen, very shortly, we're going to take you over to Westminster. It's been a lovely trip. I hope you've all enjoyed it. And I hope that the commentary has added to your journey. Have you all had a nice time?
Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks very much.